Captain Alan Murphy stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel, handshake, watching the massive space station grow larger against the backdrop of stars. Harmony Point was an engineering marvel, a spinning wheel of metal and light where dozens of alien species conducted business and diplomacy. And now, for the first time, humans would join them. "Nervous, Captain?" asked Dr. Lisa Collins as she approached the viewport. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her blue diplomatic uniform was perfectly pressed. "Just cautious," Murphy replied, running a hand through his short gray hair. "First contact is always delicate. We're newcomers here." "That's why they sent me," Collins said with a smile. "Best xenobiologist Earth has. I've been studying the linguistic and cultural data they transmitted. Fascinating stuff." Commander Jeff Rodriguez appeared at Murphy's side, his posture rigid as always. "Docking procedures initiated, sir. The Galactic Concordat representatives are waiting in the main reception hall." Murphy nodded. "Remember, everyone, we represent all of humanity today. Let's make a good impression." The handshake was Earth's first purpose-built diplomatic vessel. With humanity having only discovered faster-than-light travel 3 years ago in 2184, they were eager to join the galactic community. The ship was intentionally designed without weapons to show peaceful intentions, its hull gleaming white against the blackness of space. 2 hours later, Murphy watched as Dr. Collins conversed with a tall, willowy alien with skin that shimmered, like oil on water. Ambassador Zarlak represented the Galactic Concordat, a coalition of over 30 advanced species who governed most known space. "Your species has achieved much in so little time," Zarlak said, four-fingered hands moving in, graceful gestures that supplemented their speech. "Most young races take centuries after discovering FTL to stabilize their governments enough for contact. Humans are adaptable," Collins replied. "Facing extinction tends to unite people. The climate wars taught us that." Murphy circled the reception hall, keeping a watchful eye on his crew. 20 human diplomats and scientists mingled with representatives from across the galaxy. Some aliens looked almost human, while others defied description. Floating gas sacs, crystalline structures, and one species that seemed to exist as patterns of light. "Captain Murphy," a voice rumbled behind him. Murphy turned to face a massive, reptilian being with armored scales and intelligent eyes. "I am Supreme Commander Volk of the Toran Defense Force. Your vessel design interests me." Murphy smiled. "The handshake is built for peace, Commander. We wanted our intentions to be clear." The reptilian's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Noble but dangerous. Not all species respect such vulnerability." Before Murphy could respond, a chime echoed through the hall. Ambassador Zarlak glided to the center of the room. "Honored representatives, please join us in the council chamber for the formal welcome ceremony." The crowd began moving toward a large set of doors at the far end of the hall. Murphy fell into step beside Dr. Collins. "Making friends?" he asked. Collins nodded. "They're curious about us. Some seem impressed, others concerned. We're an unknown factor." "The Toran commander suggested our unarmed approach might be seen as weakness," Murphy said quietly. "Typical military thinking," Collins replied. "But this is diplomacy, not—" A deafening explosion cut her off as the far doors blew inward. Screams and shouts filled the air as smoke poured into the reception hall. Murphy's military training kicked in. "Immediately, everyone down!" he shouted, pulling Collins to the floor as debris rained around them. Through the smoke, figures appeared. Humanoid, but with distinctly non-human proportions. Their bodies were covered in sleek armor, faces hidden behind angular masks with glowing red visors. They moved with deadly precision, firing weapons that emitted beams of blinding blue energy. "Who are they?" Collins gasped as Murphy pulled her behind an overturned table. "Vrexelon extremists!" shouted Ambassador Zarlak, who had taken cover nearby. "They oppose all expansion of the Concordat." Commander Rodriguez appeared at Murphy's side, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. "Sir, they're targeting the human delegation specifically." Murphy watched in horror as a blue beam struck one of the human diplomats. The man didn't fall, he simply disintegrated, leaving nothing but ash. "We need to get out of here," Murphy said grimly. "Rodriguez, gather any survivors. We're retreating to the ship." The next 20 minutes were chaos. Murphy led a desperate fighting retreat, using fallen alien weapons to hold off the attackers. 3 more human diplomats died before they reached the docking bay. Ambassador Zarlak and several other Concordat representatives followed them, their own security forces providing cover. "Dr. Collins," Murphy shouted, looking around frantically as they reached the Handshake's airlock. "Where's Dr. Collins?" "They took her, sir," Rodriguez said, his voice tight with pain from a wound in his side. "I saw them drag her and 2 others away. I couldn't get to them." Murphy's blood ran cold. "We need to go back." Zarlak placed a long-fingered hand on Murphy's shoulder. "Impossible, Captain. The station is being overrun. We must leave now." "I'm not leaving my people behind," Murphy growled. "You have no choice," Zarlak replied. "Your ship has no weapons. If you stay, everyone here dies too." The logic was undeniable, but it felt like acid in Murphy's throat as he gave the order to launch. The Handshake disengaged from the dying station, narrowly avoiding the weapons fire from approaching Vrexlan ships. "What happens now?" Rodriguez asked as they accelerated away from Harmony Point. "Now," Ambassador Zarlak said, "we must address this tragedy through proper diplomatic channels. The Concordat has strict non-intervention protocols." Murphy stared at the alien, disbelief turning to anger. "Non-intervention? They just killed my people and took others prisoner." "The Vrexlan are a complex political issue," Zarlak explained calmly. "As newcomers to the galactic community, you must understand that minor species cannot expect immediate—" "Minor species?" Murphy's voice was dangerously quiet. "A technical classification only," Zarlak said, seemingly oblivious to Murphy's growing rage. "Your development level places you in the 3rd tier of—" "They have our people," Murphy interrupted. "How do we get them back?" "That may not be possible under current protocols," Zarlak replied. "The Concordat will issue a formal censure." "Of course." Murphy looked around at the survivors, the wounded, the grieving, the shocked. Then he turned back to Zarlak, his decision made. "Ambassador, please relay a message to your Concordat. Tell them that Earth will not accept this attack. Tell them we want our people returned, and tell them that they've made a terrible mistake." "What mistake is that?" Zarlak asked, head tilted in confusion. Murphy's eyes were cold as steel when, he answered, "They've made humanity angry, and they have no idea what that means." Admiral Sandra Reyes stood before the massive wall screen in Earth Defense Command, her face illuminated by the glow of dozens of ship movements. The underground facility, buried deep in the Rocky Mountains, hummed with activity as personnel rushed between stations. News of the attack had reached Earth 12 hours ago, and the planet was already shifting to a war footing. "How many ships can we ready within the week?" she asked, not taking her eyes off the screen. 47, ma'am," replied her aide, "but only 12 have proper military specifications. The rest are civilian vessels we're retrofitting." "That won't be enough," Reyes said quietly. "Ready every ship that can fly. And contact Chief Engineer Dawson at the Mars shipyards. I want those mining lasers repurposed." In the conference room above, President Eric Mason addressed the emergency session of the United Earth Government. Representatives from every nation sat in grim silence as they watched footage from the Handshake's recording systems. The brutal attack played out before them. Diplomats disintegrating, crew members fighting desperately, Dr. Collins being dragged away screaming. "This," Mason said when the recording ended, "is how the galaxy welcomed humanity's hand of friendship." The room remained silent as Mason moved to the center of the circular table. "For too long we fought each other over dwindling resources and ancient hatreds. The climate wars nearly destroyed us. But we survived. We united. We reached for the stars." Mason's voice grew stronger. "And now we face an enemy who believes we are weak because we came in peace. What are our options, Mr. President?" asked the representative from the African Union. "According to Ambassador Zarlak, very few," Mason replied bitterly. "The Concordat has classified Earth as a minor species with limited rights. They've suggested we accept our losses and focus on integration into their political structure. Angry murmurs filled the room. The Chinese representative stood. And what does Earth say to that? President Mason's face hardened. Earth says no. I've already authorized Admiral Reyes to mobilize our fleet. I'm asking this body to approve emergency measures to convert our industrial capacity to military production. The vote was unanimous. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sam Foster hunched over his data terminal in the intelligence division. Dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept since the handshake returned. Fragments of alien communications scrolled across his screen as he searched for any mention of the human prisoners. Got something? Asked a voice behind him. Foster turned to see Captain Murphy, still wearing the same uniform from the attack, now wrinkled and stained. Maybe, Foster replied. I've been analyzing concordate transmissions our deep space relays intercepted. The prisoners aren't being held by the concordate itself. They've been taken to the Rexelon homeworld. Murphy's face darkened. Can you pinpoint their location? Working on it, Foster said. But sir, there's something else. The Vrexelon. They're conducting some kind of experiments on the prisoners. Medical experiments. Murphy gripped the back of Foster's chair so hard his knuckles turned white. Keep working, Lieutenant. Find them. On the other side of the planet, Chief Engineer Kelly Dawson stood in the middle of a massive hangar at the Beijing Aerospace Facility. Around her, workers swarmed over what had once been a civilian passenger liner. Its sleek hull was now being fitted with armor plating salvaged from orbital construction platforms. The shield technology we recovered from the debris at Harmony Point is fascinating, she explained to Admiral Reyes, who had come to inspect progress. Their energy signatures suggest they're designed to deflect energy weapons similar to their own, but they've never seen anything like our kinetic weapons. Can we get through their shields? Reyes asked. Dawson smiled grimly. Ma'am, our mining charges are designed to crack asteroids. Modified correctly, they'll go through those shields like paper. The issue isn't penetration, it's delivery. We need to get close enough to use them. That's my problem to solve, Reyes replied. Just make sure the weapons work when we need them. In orbit above Earth, the Concordate observation vessel monitored the sudden increase in human activity with growing concern. Ambassador Zarlak composed a message to the Concordate High Council. The humans are displaying unusual behaviors, Zarlak reported. They appear to be modifying civilian vessels for potential combat roles. I recommend sending a diplomatic delegation to remind them of their status and the consequences of unsanctioned military action. The response came hours later. Advisory. Noted. Minor species often display aggression when first encountering galactic standards. Send clear warning about technological disadvantages. No further action required. 1 week after the attack, President Mason addressed the world from the steps of the old United Nations building in New York. Billions watched as he stood before the assembled press, his face solemn. Today, I sent a message to the Galactic Concordate, he began. I informed them that Earth demands the immediate return of all human prisoners taken during the unprovoked attack on our diplomatic mission. I have given them 7 days to comply. He paused, looking directly into the cameras. I also sent a message to the Vrexelon leadership. It was somewhat simpler. It said, humanity extends a hand in peace, but harm one of our own, and you will learn why even our myths are filled with war. The crowd fell silent as Mason's words sank in. For too long our species fought itself. We became very, very good at war. Then we turned away from it, hoping we had outgrown our violent past. His voice hardened. The Vrexelon and the Concordate have mistaken our desire for peace as weakness. They believe we lack the will or capability to defend ourselves. They are about to learn how wrong they are. In the skies above, the first of Earth's converted warships moved into formation. The cruise liner Pacific Dream had been transformed into the warship Retribution under the command of Captain Olivia Klein, formerly of the North American Navy. Her crew was a mixture of military personnel and civilian volunteers, all united by a common purpose. Final system check complete, reported Lieutenant Greg Williams, a former mining engineer now serving as weapons officer. All weapons are online and functional. Reactors at full capacity, added another officer. Shield systems operational, Klein settled into the command chair, surveying the bridge of her strange hybrid vessel. It wasn't pretty. Civilian luxury merged with hastily installed military hardware, but it would serve its purpose. Navigation, she ordered. Set course for the Epsilon Eridani system. That's the location of the nearest Vrexelon outpost according to our intelligence. As the Retribution and its small fleet of converted vessels prepared to jump to faster than light speed, Klein addressed her crew over the intercom. We are not warriors by choice, she said. We came to the stars seeking friendship and knowledge. Instead, we found cruelty. Today we deliver a message, not just to the Vrexelon, but to the entire galaxy. Humanity will not be dismissed. Humanity will not be victimized. And those who harm us will face consequences beyond their imagination. The stars blurred as the fleet jumped, carrying humanity's anger to the stars. The Vrexelon outpost hung in space like a dark metal spider. Built into a small asteroid, it served as a mining and refueling station at the edge of Vrexelon territory. Its dozen crew members had never seen combat, nor did they expect to. The outpost was considered too small and unimportant to warrant serious defenses. Captain Olivia Klein watched it grow larger on the view screen of the Retribution. Her ship led a fleet of 6 vessels, each a strange mix of civilian design and hasty military upgrades. Scan complete, Captain, reported Lieutenant Greg Williams from the weapons station. The outpost has minimal shields and 2 small defense turrets. No match for us, Klein nodded. Any response to our hail? None, replied her communications officer. They're transmitting an automated warning to stay clear of Vrexelon space. Klein turned to Dr. Peter Jones, who stood quietly at the back of the bridge. The psychologist had been added to the mission at the last minute, tasked with analyzing alien behavior and reactions. Doctor, what's your assessment? Klein asked. Jones stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. The Vrexelon social structure values dominance and strength above all. This demonstration must be clear and impossible to misinterpret. They need to understand that we can destroy them, but choose restraint. Klein considered this, then turned. Back to Williams. Target their defensive systems only. Disable, don't destroy. Aye, Captain, Williams replied, fingers dancing across his console. Modified mining charges ready. Fire. The weapons that streaked from the Retribution toward the outpost had been mining charges only 2 weeks ago, designed to break apart asteroids for resource extraction. Now they carried specially calibrated warheads created by Chief Engineer Dawson. The first charge hit the outpost's shields, which flared bright blue for a moment before collapsing entirely. The second and third charges struck the defense turrets with surgical precision, shearing them off without breaching the station's hull. Direct hits, Williams reported. Their defensive systems are offline. Klein opened a channel. Vrexelon. Outpost, this is Captain Olivia Klein of the Earth vessel Retribution. Your defenses have been neutralized. We could destroy your station completely, but we choose not to. Consider this a demonstration of both our capabilities and our restraint. For several long moments, there was silence. Then a harsh, clicking voice responded. Human vessel, you commit an act of war against the Vrexelon Dominion. Our fleet will reduce your homeworld to ash. Klein nodded to Williams. Show them the mooncracker. Williams activated the ship's main weapon, a massive apparatus extending from the Retribution's hull. Originally designed to split small asteroids, for easier mining it had been modified into what the engineering team called a mooncracker. Target the small moon, 1/4 power, Klein ordered. The weapon hummed to life, gathering energy from the ship's reactors. A beam of concentrated energy lanced out, striking a small, uninhabited moon orbiting a nearby gas giant. For a moment, nothing happened. Then fissures appeared across the moon's surface, spreading like cracks in glass. Within minutes, the moon began to break apart, chunks of rock drifting away from each other. Channel still open, the communications officer confirmed. Klein spoke clearly and calmly. This weapon was a mining tool 2 weeks ago. Imagine what our actual weapons can do. You have taken our people, You have 7 Earth days to return them unharmed. If you do not, we will demonstrate our capabilities on targets of greater importance. She signaled to cut the transmission. Message sent to all frequencies, the communications officer reported. The entire sector will have received it. Dr. Jones studied the data coming in from their sensors. The crew's life signs show extreme stress patterns. They're terrified. Good, Klein said simply. Set course for home. Our message has been delivered. As the small fleet prepared to jump back to Earth, a sleek vessel decloaked nearby. Unlike the converted human ships, this craft was clearly built for stealth and speed. Captain, we're being hailed, the communications officer said with surprise. It's not Vrexelon. On screen, Klein ordered. The image that appeared showed a being with pale blue skin and large reflective eyes. Captain Klein, I am Ambassador Krell of the Toran, Confederacy. What you have done here will echo across the galaxy. May I come aboard? There are things you should know. Klein hesitated only briefly. Permission granted, Ambassador. 30 minutes later, Klein sat across from Ambassador Krell in the Retribution's conference room. Despite being converted for war, the room still bore the luxury cruise liner's elegant fixtures. The Vrexlan have already sent the recording of your demonstration to the Concordat, Krell explained. They demand sanctions against Earth. And what does the Concordat say? Klein asked. They believe your actions are those of a primitive species lashing out. They do not understand the threat you pose. Krell's large eyes blinked slowly. I do. Explain. My people fought wars for 10,000 years before finding peace. We recognize the signs of a species that has mastered combat. Krell leaned forward. The Concordat has ruled through technological superiority for so long they've forgotten what it means to face a determined enemy. We just want our people back, Klein said firmly. No, Krell replied. You want justice, and you will tear apart the galaxy to get it. The alien placed a data crystal on the table. This contains information about Vrexlan defensive systems. Their homeworld is heavily protected. Klein stared at the crystal. Why help us? The Concordat's peace is built on inequality. Perhaps it needs to be reconsidered. Krell stood. I was never here, Captain. But know that not all species stand with the Concordat in this matter. After Krell departed, the human fleet jumped back toward Earth. News of their demonstration spread across galactic communication channels faster than their ships could travel. By the time they reached Earth orbit, the entire galaxy was buzzing with reports of the human display of power. In the Concordat's grand chamber, representatives from 30 species gathered in emergency session. Ambassador Zarlak addressed the assembly. These humans are more aggressive than anticipated. However, they remain a minor species with limited technology. Their modified mining tools, while impressive, pose no threat to major Concordat worlds. A representative from a crystalline species chimed in. They split a moon as a warning. This cannot be tolerated. Nor will it be, Zarlak assured them. I propose we send a delegation to Earth with a clear message. Stand down or face the consequences of defying the Concordat's authority. Back on Earth, President Mason viewed the recording of the moon demonstration with Admiral Reyes and the military leadership. It worked, Reyes said. The Vrexlan now know we're serious. Will they return our people? Mason asked. Lieutenant Foster spoke, up from his station. Sir, we're intercepting communications suggesting the Vrexlan are moving prisoners to their homeworld. They're consolidating, not preparing to release them. Mason's face hardened. Then we proceed to the next phase. Admiral, is the main fleet ready? 38 vessels combat ready, Mr. President. Not as many as I'd like, but each one carries weapons that can crack planetary crusts. And our intelligence on their defenses? Foster held up a data crystal, identical to the one Ambassador Krell had given Captain Klein. We've received information from a sympathetic source, sir. We know their weaknesses. Then it's time, Mason said quietly. They've had their warning. Now they'll understand why humanity survived its own wars. Why our stories always warned about the dangers of human anger. He looked around at the faces of Earth's military leaders. The clock is ticking. In 5 days, if our people aren't returned, we launch everything we have. Dr. Lisa Collins fought to stay conscious as pain coursed through her body. The cell they kept her in was small and cold, with harsh lights that never turned off. She had lost track of time since her capture at Harmony Point. Days, perhaps weeks had passed. The door hissed open. 2 Vrexlon guards entered, their angular masks hiding any expression. Behind them walked a taller figure wearing elaborate armor with glowing symbols. "The human awakens," said the tall Vrexlon, his translator making his voice sound metallic and cold. "I am Warlord Vrextor. Your species continues to surprise me." Lisa tried to speak, but her throat was dry from screaming during the last examination. She swallowed hard. "What do you want from us?" "Information, initially," Vrextor replied. "But now I want to understand why a minor species dares to threaten the Vrexlon Dominion." He approached her restraint table, studying her with glowing red eyes behind his mask. "Your Captain Klein destroyed one of our moons. The Concordat calls it a primitive display of defiance. I call it a declaration of war." Lisa managed a weak smile. "Then you understand us better than the Concordat." "Tell me about Earth's defenses," Vrextor demanded. "Your weapons, your weaknesses." "Go to hell," Lisa whispered. The warlord made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "Your spirit is admirable. Unfortunately, it changes nothing. The examinations will continue. And when we have learned all we can from you and the other specimens, your remains will be sent back to Earth as a message." After he left, Lisa pulled against her restraints, finding them as unyielding as before. Her thoughts drifted to Earth, wondering what was happening there. The Vrexlon had shown her the recording of the moon demonstration. Her people were coming for her. She just needed to stay alive until then. In another part of the vast Vrexlon research facility, Captain Alan Murphy crawled through a narrow maintenance shaft. Behind him followed 4 soldiers, each equipped with stolen Vrexlon weapons and stealth technology provided by Earth's new Terran allies. "Life signs ahead," whispered Sergeant Diaz, checking a small scanner. 2 Vrexlon, 1 human. Murphy nodded. "Remember, silent takedowns if possible. We need to grab our people and get out before they realize we're here." The team had infiltrated the Vrexlon homeworld 3 days ago aboard a cargo vessel, aided by Ambassador Krell's intelligence. Now they were executing the most daring rescue mission in human history, deep in enemy territory. Murphy checked his weapon, a modified Vrexlon plasma rifle, and signaled his team forward. They emerged from the shaft into a dimly lit corridor and moved silently toward a guarded door. The guards never saw them coming. 2 quick shots from silenced weapons, and the Vrexlon collapsed without raising an alarm. "Doors locked," whispered Diaz, examining the control panel. Murphy attached a small device to the panel. The technology was Tauran, designed to bypass Vrexlon security. After a tense moment, the door slid open. Inside, they found a human man strapped to an examination table. His body was covered in surgical scars and monitoring devices. Murphy recognized him as Dr. Paul Evans, one of the diplomats. From the handshake, "Dr. Evans," Murphy said softly, approaching the table. "We're here to take you home." Evans' eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then widening in recognition. "Captain, Murphy, is this real?" "It's real," Murphy assured him as Diaz worked to remove the restraints. "Can you tell us where the others are being held?" "Lisa. They took her to the high-security wing," Evans said weakly. "The warlord has special interest in her. She's refused to give them anything despite the torture." Murphy's jaw tightened. "How many others?" "4 still alive that I know of. 2 they killed during experiments last week." Murphy helped Evans sit up while another soldier provided medical attention. "We'll get you all out. Can you walk?" "Give me a gun," Evans replied, his voice stronger. "I'll do more than walk." Across the facility, Concordat General Zelax arrived for an unscheduled inspection. Unlike most Concordat officials, Zelax had a military background and took the human threat more seriously than his peers. "Show me the human specimens," he ordered the Vrexland scientists. "I want to see them myself." The scientists led him to an observation room overlooking a laboratory where Lisa Collins was being subjected to another round of examinations. Zelax watched impassively as the human female endured pain that would have broken most species. "Impressive. Resilience," he noted. "And you say she has revealed nothing?" "Nothing useful," the head scientist replied. "The humans are physiologically simple but psychologically complex. Their pain threshold and resistance to interrogation exceeds our models." Zelax studied the monitors displaying Lisa's vital signs. The Concordat dismissed them as primitives. "I am beginning to think that was a mistake." A loud alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "What's happening?" Zelax demanded. The scientist checked his console, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Intruder alert in Sector 7. Security systems detect weapons fire." "Impossible," Zelax said. "No unauthorized vessel has entered the system. The planetary defense grid would have—" "Sir," another scientist called out. "The humans. They're escaping." In the laboratory below, Lisa Collins felt the restraints on her table suddenly release. Looking up in confusion, she saw Murphy standing over her, his face grim behind a stolen Vrexlan mask he had pushed up to reveal his identity. "Captain?" she whispered, wondering if the pain had finally broken her mind. "Time to go home, Doctor," Murphy said, helping her sit up. "Can you move?" Lisa nodded weakly. "The others?" "We've found 4. Evans says 2 didn't make it." He handed her a small weapon. "Facilities on alert. It's going to be a fighting retreat." As alarms continued to blare, Murphy's team moved through the corridors, now carrying or supporting 5 weakened human prisoners. They encountered increasing resistance as Vrexalan security forces converged on their position. "The extraction point is 3 levels up," Diaz reported between bursts of covering fire. "Transport will be there in 8 minutes." Murphy nodded, firing his weapon at advancing Vrexlan guards. "We'll make it." They had almost reached their destination when a massive explosion rocked the facility. The corridor ahead collapsed, blocking their escape route. "Find another way," Murphy ordered. Diaz checked his scanner. "There's an emergency shaft 2 corridors over, but it's past the security station." Lisa, who had been growing stronger as adrenaline coursed through her system, pointed to a side passage. "This way. I memorized the layout when they moved me between labs." The group changed direction following Lisa's guidance. They rounded a corner and came face to face with Warlord Vrextor and a squad of elite guards. "Impressive," the Warlord said, raising his weapon. "No species has ever infiltrated our homeworld." Murphy stepped forward, placing himself between the Warlord and the rescued prisoners. "Return to Earth with us. Stand trial for your crimes. It's your only chance to survive what's coming." Vrextor's mask hid his expression, but his voice carried his disdain. "You still don't understand your place, human. This pitiful rescue attempt changes nothing. Your world will burn for this insult." "No," Lisa said, her voice steady despite her injuries. "You're the one who doesn't understand. Humans don't start fights, but we finish them." Before anyone could react, emergency lighting flooded the corridor as backup power systems activated. In the confusion, Murphy's team opened fire, creating enough chaos to slip past into a side passage. As they reached the emergency shaft, Lisa collapsed against Murphy's shoulder. "I can't," she gasped, blood seeping through her medical gown. "Stay with me, Doctor," Murphy urged, lifting her into his arms. "That's an order." Lisa's eyes focused on his face one last time. "Captain, don't let them do this to anyone else." Then her eyes closed as she lost consciousness. The extraction ship, a stealth vessel provided by their Tauran allies, was waiting when they reached the surface. As they lifted off from the Vrexlan homeworld, Murphy looked down at Lisa's pale face, her breathing shallow but steady. "We won't," he promised quietly. "Never again." The news of the rescue mission spread across Earth like wildfire. Images of the returning survivors, their bodies marked by alien experiments, filled every screen. Dr. Lisa Collins lay in a medical pod, fighting for her life as doctors worked to repair the damage from weeks of Rexlan torture. The other rescued hostages told stories of cruelty that shocked even hardened military personnel. 2 days after the rescue, Warlord Vrextor broadcast a message across all galactic communication channels. His angular mask filled screens across human settlements as he spoke. People of Earth, your infiltration of our homeworld was an act of war. As punishment, we have executed 2 remaining human prisoners. The transmission cut to footage of 2 diplomats being led before a firing squad. The Vrexlan didn't censor what happened next. Riots erupted in cities across Earth. Citizens who had been hesitant about military action now demanded justice. Recruitment centers were overwhelmed with volunteers. The 7-day deadline passed with no sign of the Vrexlan backing down. In Earth Defense Command, President Mason met with Admiral Reyes and the War Council. The mood was grim as they reviewed the final plans. The main fleet is assembled, Admiral. Reyes reported. 86 ships total, including our original military vessels and the converted civilian craft. Chief Engineer Dawson has installed the planet cracker weapons on our largest ships. Mason nodded, his face showing the weight of his decision. And our intelligence on their defenses? Lieutenant Foster pointed to the holographic display of the Vrexlan home system. Thanks to Captain Murphy's team and Ambassador Krell's information, we have detailed layouts of their defensive grid. Their planetary shields have 3 main generators. Take those out, and their homeworld is exposed. Casualties? Mason asked quietly. If we execute the plan precisely, minimal on our side. Reyes answered. As for the Vrexlan, she didn't need to finish the sentence. Mason stood silently for a long moment looking at the display. Then he turned to face the council. I've spent my entire political career advocating for peace. I believed humanity had moved beyond war. He sighed heavily. But they've left us no choice. Launch the fleet. Across the galaxy, the Concordat held an emergency session. Ambassador Zarlak addressed the assembly with growing alarm. The humans have mobilized their entire fleet. They appear to be targeting the Vrexlan homeworld directly. Impossible, one representative scoffed. Their primitive vessels cannot hope to penetrate Vrexlan defenses. General Zilak stepped forward. I have observed these humans firsthand. Do not underestimate them. Their adaptation rate is unlike anything we've seen. They've turned mining equipment into weapons capable of cracking moons. The Vrexlan are a founding member of the Concordat, Zarlak reminded them. We must support them. By the time we mobilize our peacekeeping force, this may already be over, Zilak warned. These humans do not fight like us. They do not follow established protocols of warfare. They fight to win at any cost. In the void of space near the edge of Vrexlan territory, Earth's fleet emerged from FTL travel. At its center flew the flagship, Redemption, commanded by Admiral Reyes herself. Captain Klein's Retribution and dozens of other converted vessels formed a battle formation unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Vrexlan Defense Fleet detected, reported the sensor officer. 43 warships moving to intercept. Admiral Reyes studied the tactical display. The Vrexlan ships were more advanced, sleeker, and likely more powerful in direct combat. But Earth's fleet had surprise on its side. Weapons and tactics the enemy had never encountered. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega, Reyes ordered. Remember your training? The human fleet split into 3 groups. While the main force engaged the Vrexlan fleet head-on, smaller, faster ships darted toward the planet below. The battle that followed would be studied in war colleges across the galaxy for centuries to come. Human ships fought with a ferocity that shocked Vrexlan commanders. When their shields failed, crews rammed their vessels into Vrexlan warships rather than surrender. Engineers worked in vacuum to repair battle damage that should have been fatal. And throughout it all, the smaller ships kept pushing toward the planet. On the Vrexlan homeworld, Warlord Vrextor watched in growing horror as the battle unfolded. This cannot be happening, he hissed to his commanders. They are primitives. How are they breaching our defenses? The answer came in the form of Chief Engineer Kelly Dawson's shield-piercing technology. 3 human ships, though critically damaged, succeeded in their suicide runs against the planetary shield generators. As each generator fell, sections of the protective bubble around the planet winked out. "The shields are collapsing." A Vrexlan officer shouted. "Orbital defenses are exposed." Vrextor turned to General Zilax, who had come to coordinate the Concordate's response. "Where is the Concordate fleet? Where is our protection?" "You started this war," Zilax replied coldly. "Perhaps you should have considered the consequences." On the surface, Captain Murphy led a ground assault team toward the capital city. Their mission: capture Warlord Vrextor alive to stand trial for his crimes against humanity. "Never thought I'd set foot on this planet again," Murphy said as they moved through the chaos of a city under attack. Vrexalan civilians fled in all directions as defense systems failed, and human dropships landed around the government district. "For Lisa," Sergeant Diaz said simply, checking his weapon. Murphy nodded. "For all of them." They fought their way through the warlord's guards, eventually cornering him in his command center. Surrounded by human soldiers, Vrextor finally removed, his mask revealing a face with multiple eyes and mandibles that clicked in agitation. "You cannot win," he insisted, even as the sounds of battle drew closer. "The Concordate will never allow a minor species to—" "Look around you," Murphy interrupted. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are down. The Concordate isn't coming." He stepped closer. "You're under arrest for crimes against humanity. You'll be returned to Earth to stand trial." In orbit above, Admiral Reyes received the signal that Vrextor had been captured. She immediately opened a channel to all ships. "All forces, cease fire. Target only defensive installations. No further strikes against civilian centers." Across the fleet, weapons powered down as human ships secured orbit around the Vrexalan homeworld. What remained of the Vrexalan fleet surrendered, their crews shocked by the speed and totality of their defeat. Hours later, a Concordate diplomatic vessel arrived, too late to affect the outcome. Ambassador Zarlak requested permission to board the Redemption, which Admiral Reyes granted. "This is unprecedented," Zarlak said as soon as they met on the bridge. "No species has ever defeated a founding member of the Concordate." "We didn't want this war," Reyes replied. "We asked for the return of our people. We were denied." "The Concordate demands that you withdraw from Vrexlan space immediately," Zarlak insisted. Reyes smiled thinly. "The Concordate is no longer in a position to demand anything. Return to your council with this message. Earth expects a seat at the table as an equal, not as a minor species, but as a full member with all rights and protections." 1 month later, Dr. Lisa Collins opened her eyes in a hospital room on Earth. She had been in a medically induced coma while her body healed from the Vrexalan experiments. Captain Murphy sat beside her bed, looking tired but relieved. "Welcome back, Doctor," he said gently. "You've been away for a while." "The others?" she asked, her voice weak. "Safe. All of them." Murphy smiled. "And the war is over. We won." Lisa closed her eyes briefly. "How many died?" "Too many," Murphy admitted. "But not in vain. The galaxy knows us now. They understand what happens when humans get angry." In the weeks that followed, Earth joined the Concordate as a full member. The Vrexlan leadership stood trial for their crimes, and reparations were paid to the families of those lost in the conflict. And throughout the galaxy, a new saying spread among spacefaring species: "Befriend humans if you wish, trade with them, learn from them, but never, ever make them angry. For when humans get angry, the entire galaxy cowers in fear."